Hi, guys. Welcome to Word on the Street. I'm Andrew Street. Today, we're going to be talking about the fast moving and changing initiatives that manufacturers and Ford Direct and kind of the middle players want dealers to focus on, and how every single dealership has some variation and has separate needs, and really how dealers within those programs can tailor their marketing strategies to what the store actually needs versus kind of what's being pushed on them. I'm joined here by Ashley Kilbarger. She's veteran marketing director for over 20 stores for like 20 years or something like that. She is a dealer consultant. She's a fashion content creator. She is an award-winning mother. And Ashley, could you give a quick hello and let people know just kind of what your role is as a specialist with dealers?
Well, hello. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate that, especially the mom thing, because being a mom is hard. Yes, I am a dealer consultant here at Dealer OMG, and I take all of the problems or initiatives you want to meet, and I bring them to life and make it happen for you.
That's great. That's a great description of it. Because I do feel like it's like up to the advertiser to get from the dealer what the dealer really needs, opposed to like, hey, here was our cost per click and our click-through rate. When are the incentives coming out? Okay, we'll do it again. But like, hey, I see because of your inventory levels, or because of the market conditions, or because of you have a surplus of expeditions, and here's a lot of mothers that are driving old expeditions in the market. Let's do that to really push them to kind of give you some insights. But do you have any feel for like some unique opportunities that, like, looking at Ford, because we were just talking about Ford today, like what is on Ford's radar right now? What is Shift pushing on their dealers? What are you hearing from their dealers? Because I know you work with dozens of Ford dealers right now, helping them with their strategies.
Yes. So one of the main initiatives, obviously, is EV coming into the market and trying to get their Ford Lightnings and Ford Mach-E's off of their lots is most of their concern. So that's been a big initiative, but it's kind of different across the board depending on which location the Ford dealer is. I have some that don't care to push EV. They just want to push trucks, or
Is that because they don't have EVs, or because they don't sell EV? Their customers aren't buying them?
Both. Yeah. I have a couple that are kind of in rural areas, and they just don't have buyers for it. So they usually end up, doing a dealer trade and selling it to another dealer, or maybe someone from the city coming to buy it from them. They just don't have a big market for it there, is what I've experienced with some of those locations.
So have they tried to like start with their current EV inventory, like start to advertise to adjacent cities and try to like pull from somebody else's DMA to have customers come out and buy EVs from their lot? Is that something you're coming across?
Yeah, I have come across that, wanting to target, wider audiences, wider locations, closer to cities. I also have a client that has sister stores that are located in cities, and they'll sell the trucks to the sister stores because they know they have people in the market there.
And then like when you're trying to target consumers with EVs, is it more like people already driving an EV, or is it people who are driving F-150 to convert over to the F-150 Lightning, or conquesting Silverado drivers into a Lightning?
Yeah.
What do you see that's working well?
Kind of all of it. So we kind of split the campaigns up based on different criteria. We kind of go after in-market shoppers, people that are in the market for EVs and hybrids already. And then, we kind of target those conquest drivers like Tesla and Silverados, for the Lightning to kind of pull over those truck owners that maybe want an EV and they can't currently get one from Chevy. So, and then kind of pull from their own customer database, like people that have inquired about the EVs but never bought, and just kind of serving them different advertising to educate them on why maybe a new Ford Lightning would be something they would be interested in.
The only thing I would really want to do is like get a Ford Lightning so I can be at somebody else's house when the power goes off and I can I can power their home with my vehicle.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like the ultimate experience with one. You say you're doing like different advertising to different customers. What's the creative look like that's like going, the display ads and the social media ads? What do they look like that are working?
Yeah, so it's funny that you brought that up. We actually have a client that has a video that they're running of the Ford Lightning powering a house.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think, advertising like that is educational, that a lot of people wouldn't know that it can do that, always works. And then, of course, putting in front of them the government rebates. A lot of people don't know that you can use that now as like a down payment. Before it was like something you had to get after you purchased.
Right.
Like
I heard people comparing it to like the cash for clunkers and how that thing was kind of clunky itself, of like how long it took for the rebate and how to apply for it was kind of murky.
Yeah.
Where the Treasury Department's like, okay, we'll do it really fast. Where, especially like moving into next year, like the customer can use the $7,500 as down payment and then combine that with their trade-in and some cash out of pocket. All of a sudden, they've got a pretty substantial down payment on a vehicle. And it sounds like you're educating consumers on that's possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and why not go after your own F-150 owners with that? Like, hey, if you've been thinking about maybe upgrading, now you can use this towards your down payment and we want your trade.
Yeah, completely. And it's like, like the two big things I think that we heard that are like slowing people down from buying all these EVs that manufacturers are pushing the hell out of. It's like the range anxiety. That's a different thing. But like the affordability, if the average price is like 54 grand for an EV, that eliminates the bulk of the population of people buying vehicles.
Right.
And now we've got an opportunity to educate people on how it can be much more affordable to get that electric vehicle. And then they can start charging their friends' homes when the power goes out.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's any, I'm sure it's out there, but maybe educating them on like cost savings, how much they would save on gas, especially since gas is high right now.
Yeah. It's like, and also like what I'm hearing too from some of the stores that we're starting to work with, other Ford stores, is like, they've just invested so much money into the electrical infrastructure at the dealership, like electrification of their dealership that costs $1.2 million or $1.5 million or something, which is so much money and so many vehicles that you need to sell to recoup that investment. Now to be like, okay, let's be able to utilize that electrification, where like stores in my backyard in Austin are like, yeah, we sell the hell out of Mach-E's and Lightnings. Okay, that's a unique market where EVs are big and Ford is king, versus you go 30 minutes or an hour outside of a city like this, it's completely different.
Right.
Where they're just selling Super Duties, and a lot of people are having trouble getting like the Raptors and the full size Broncos. People are customizing those. Do we want to start pushing people through that flow?
Yeah. I actually have a client that they're in rural Ohio. They're surrounded by cornfields. Um, so they do not have lightnings on the lot. If they do, it might be one or a few. They are running advertising on Ford Performance F-150s that they have on their lot that have, like $18,000 accessory kits on them with the Ford Performance parts. They have a whole like landing page based on off-road and Ford Performance. So it's a whole different market, than if you were to drive an hour to get into this
Yeah.
city where, someone would want a Lightning versus a tricked out F-150 with lots of towing capacity and, things to work the farm fields with.
Yeah. And like when I think about advertising stuff like that, it's so easy to start thinking about the strategy and the audience you target and the metrics that you can see from advertising because we're swimming in metrics. But like I always want to go back to like the creative side with those types of ads, and especially if like somebody has a lot of inventory that we're trying to push that's already on the lot. What type of creative do you see that makes an impact?
So the creative, it depends on what the end goal is. I feel like you kind of have to run a couple different kinds of creative. Some creative that's educational, especially for like the $7,500 EV rebate. And then like if you just have a bunch of F-150s that you're trying to get rid of and they've been sitting too long, then you want to maybe throw up some incentive videos about like, lease your next Ford Escape for $399 a month or whatever it is, to kind of entice those buyers that are in the market that might not know that they could get a low payment on something right now. Especially right now, I feel like a lot of manufacturers are finally throwing out more incentives, especially with new cars to get the new inventory rolling off the lot. So educational, incentivize, and then maybe even entertainment. I have a couple of clients that have just funny like reels that they put up in front of their audiences just saying, we have spooky Halloween deals, come down and shop today. So I feel like you kind of need a good mix of different advertising.
Yeah. Yeah, and then making sure that like some of them are going to be geared for leads, some of the ads are going to be geared for just reach and frequency and impressions. And then when you're talking about like educating people about the payments that they can qualify for, like something that I was just listening to recently from Jonathan Smoke or whoever it is that's like the head economist from Cox Automotive. It's like 50% of households cannot pay more than $400 a month in, in a car payment. And it's really hard to get a car payment under $400. So it's kind of looking at, I think the play for us as advertisers is going to increasingly become until interest rates get corrected and things become normalized or vehicles become more affordable, but to start being able to target people who can qualify or who do have a higher annual income or monthly income or higher net wealth or better credit score, while so much of the population, 50% of the US population of adults can't qualify to pay over $400. It's tricky. So,
Yeah.
but now as an advertiser, our job's like to make our audiences smaller instead of going really big, but go smaller to the right kind of people to where now all those paid impressions and the frequency grows with that smaller audience. And that's one way I'm looking at it now. It's like, okay, if these people can't afford it, why advertise to them right now? Maybe we can do trade-in vehicles. We can do our pre-owned vehicles, our cars under 20,000 if we have any.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you feel like is the difference between like Ford right now and other manufacturers that you're working with?
I would say inventory. I still have some Honda dealers that barely have any inventory on the lot. And Ford has been cranking. So having diverse inventory. I know in my previous job, our Toyota store was really struggling because they weren't able to keep up with like Ford and GM and other manufacturers that were cranking out inventory. So they would just send inventory to the lots that weren't what customers wanted because they couldn't get chips or whatever was going on with the manufacturing. So they had inventory sitting on the lot that they couldn't sell because it wasn't what customers wanted. They don't want to wait for months to get heated seats, in a Toyota Camry. They'll just get one from somewhere else, from Kia or whoever has one. So yeah, I definitely think Ford's in a better place because they fared, I feel like, better with the manufacturing issues.
And they're cool. And people buy the hell, like the truck's the number one selling vehicle.
Yes, and the
With
F-150.
the F series.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. It's like having a polarizing CEO with Jim Farley, who's really pushing EV, and it's actually it's Chris Farley's cousin. You can look him up. I thought they looked so similar, so I finally Googled it, and they're cousins. Yeah, but he took that trip in a Ford Lightning down the Pacific Coast Highway or something, and he had a lot of issues with it. So I think he's backing off of really pushing EVs. Because forever was doing pre-orders because they didn't have any new inventory available. Then it became EVs. Maybe they're going to start coming out with incentives, hopefully. If they have all this inventory, maybe we'll start seeing more incentives to really start to stimulate customers coming in. Well, Ashley, we've talked about a lot. We talked about your role and how to customize kind of your marketing strategy to what the store needs, not what the advertiser wants you to do or the manufacturer wants to do. We talked about what creative could look like. We talked about educating the market, and talked about the difference with Ford and other manufacturers and what you're hearing from your dealers, because you're really where the rubber hits the road for companies like ours, talking with the customers regularly. We're talking with dealers all the time. Well, thank you. Anything else to add, or should we bring this thing on in?
No, I think we talked about a lot. Thank you, as always, for having me.
Well, everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to Word on the Street with Ashley Kilbarger, and I'm Andrew Street. Have a good day.